So we mentioned T.J. Watt's looking for a new deal. Micah Parsons is looking to get paid. A lot of people are out there looking to get paid. Well, you know who did get paid? The NFL. Via Ben Fisher of Sports Business Journal, the total league revenue surpassed $23 billion in the most recent fiscal year. Teams will receive a $416 million distribution from their shared TV sponsorship and licensing revenue. It has jumped almost 9% over last year's figure of $382 million. So, congratulations to all involved. Hopefully we'll get a cut of that, considering we've done a lot to promote and cover the NFL. But nonetheless, that league is thriving right now.
No doubt about it. It's crazy to me, and I always say this, when people side with NFL owners as opposed to players, these organizations print money. We've talked about how countless times you can be a bad owner and you'll still make money. I mean, the real window we have into how much exactly they're making, because each team gets $416 million. But take the Green Bay Packers, for example, in 2024. They generated $654 million in revenue, okay? Revenue. 98, almost $100 million of that ended up being a net income, the gain. And then over $60 million was their profit. And that is a organization that's in a small market. And that was last year. So if you actually look at last year's payout from the TV media rights, I believe they were distributed $382 million. So technically, $272 million of just Green Bay's revenue, right, a smaller market, are coming from other ventures. Imagine any of the teams in New York. Imagine Dallas. Imagine LA. Imagine some of these other bigger market teams. Chicago. I mean, they have to be well north of that. And if you're looking at how much the owners are making, right, 416 just from the TV. Again, just from the TV, what they generated revenue-wise. The salary cap is, 60% of that? For the entire team that year? I mean, it's growing at a pace, meaning what the distribution media rights are, that it's far surpassing where the players are in regards to the salary cap. Like that ratio is going to be off at some point in the future, especially as Roger Goodell keeps pushing the league to get to $25 billion by 2027. You add in that 18th game, they keep going the way they're going, it's going to get to that number. It is just ridiculous how successful the NFL is.
All right, my first question is, now not as a player, but more of a serial entrepreneur. If you can grow your business and your brand, and a lot of people would argue, people would argue that it's the brand that carries the weight of commanding those types of dollars versus maybe in different, leagues, associations where it's more the superstars that carry, the popularity and the interest in the sport. Is it crazy to think that you may hit a bubble with the ownership in terms of what they're willing to pay out? Will it always be based upon a percentage in your estimation, or does it ever get to a point where it's like, we're not paying you any more than what we're paying you? And for what it's worth, maybe some of that money starts going to some of the other players and not just the 3 or 4 marquee players that are on a team. I mean, is there any chance that the thought process of how the money is distributed changes at some point if you're an owner in this situation with business booming the way it is?
I mean, I don't think it will. I mean, personally,
it's going to always have to adjust and evolve. Like the percentages always have to move with how much is being generated.
Yeah, I mean, it should, theoretically. That's the fair way to do it. That's where, if you're the players' union, you would think that the compensation players are getting should be equal to what the owners are getting. I mean, that's what you'd think. Now, again, there's all sorts of accounting tricks and things you can do to, make actually more pocket more than what it shows. But think about this. The NFL is generating over $23 billion a year right now. They're trying to go to 25. Do you know that's more than like 60 countries' GDP? Like Afghanistan, Aruba, Bahamas, Barbados, Belize, Botswana, actually, for that matter, pretty much every single country in Africa. Fiji, you can go on through the different, like Liberia. I mean, you could technically throw in Syria and Yemen, even though some of that's not exactly complete data because their economies are taking a hit with the conflict going on. I mean, St. Lucia, like all these, I mean, over 60 countries. It's bigger than their GDP, just the NFL alone, a year, and what they're able to generate in revenue. It is ridiculous.
If you were an owner, isn't it the if it's not broke, don't fix it mentality? Like if you're an owner, like why would you change the way you are paying these players? Just keep doing what you're doing, and if we can get that 18th game, it's just going to add more revenue. Like I would look at it and just say, hey guys, this is working. Let's continue to build on it. Let's continue to build on our relationships when it comes to gambling. And let's just not screw this whole thing up and figure out a way that we can continue on this path and this trajectory, because I don't think anybody expected this, especially like coming out of COVID. There was a thought like, man, how are things going to look? How are things going to change afterwards? I think people just started to have more of an appreciation for it. And once it came back, it was like, yeah, let's just roll. Let's do it.
Players switch in.
Let's keep going.
They switch in and out so quickly in football. I don't know if people realize how quickly players switch in and switch out because we're so accustomed to paying attention to the marquee players. But they switch in and they switch out so quickly. And new stars are born in essence, really, in a lot of situations, maybe overnight. You find stars in so many different ways in the game of football. It isn't always a pronounced way of finding that next superstar. Chances are the star of this year's draft might not even be talked about in detail and in depth. Like, that's how it works. So I just wonder, like, again, not trying to, like, kind of move the goalposts for the players or anything like that, because they are certainly deserving of what it is that they get. But I just think that if you're looking at it from the league perspective, I think the NFL has done as good a job, if not the best job, of making sure that the brand is always up front and it's stronger than what the individuals that are connected to it, you know, in terms of their value. As big a player as Patrick Mahomes is, they will still continue to thrive once Patrick Mahomes is not a Kansas City Chief. We've seen it happen a ton of times. Now, granted, they may not continue to win at the clip that they've won at, and that might, you know, question the value, but I don't think the value changes so much, so drastically. It doesn't stop. The show doesn't stop if one of these guys aren't playing anymore. I just wonder at what point where you're generating business off of, as you mentioned, Q, you're generating money off of other aspects of what you're doing business-wise. It's not just the game. And so once you get into all of those aspects of it, how do you continue to figure out what that percentage is that you're going to pay to your employees? Because to me, I'm trying to drive up my revenue and keep my costs and my hard costs. I'm trying to keep that down. I'm almost on some Anthony Edwards type stuff. Like, if you're one of my best players, if you're a Patrick Mahomes, I'll do a deal like what they did. Give you a 10-year deal guaranteed, or, you know, all this money guaranteed and stuff like that. I'll do that with those guys. So that I don't have to revisit this like we talked about with TJ Watt or with Myles Garrett. I don't want to have to keep revisiting doing contracts. So I'm gonna give you the life of your career will most likely be 12, 13 years. I'm gonna give you a 12, 13 year contract, Patrick Mahomes. And don't come back and ask me for nothing else. Don't come back. Don't come renegotiate. We'll do some shifting and some moving, like you're the bank of our team and all that stuff. That's cool. But don't come back to me asking me for no bigger paycheck. I'm gonna give it to you all right now. Take this money. I'm gonna take it right now.
it isn't. I mean, you have to say though that contract then has to factor in the growth of what's going to happen in the company in that amount of time.
Sure.
I mean, like
I could try to factor it in, but what if it outperforms what I factored? You know, what if?
But you're making the case for TJ Watt right now, as Jonas kind of laid out. That jumped dramatically in the past few years. So now he's in a position where he has a guy who he battles with for Defensive Player of the Year, and you could make the case he's the most important player on the entire team in Pittsburgh, and yet he's making half of what Myles Garrett will make this year.
I think that's why it comes down to making decisions, right? Like if somebody offers you X amount of dollars for X amount of time, whether the forecast turns out to be accurate or not as you move forward, if it outperforms it by a ton or if it doesn't, at the end of the day, you got your guaranteed contract. Like whatever it is your baseline is, that's your baseline. So while I'll sit there and say, yeah, you can look at it from the comparison standpoint of this guy's contract came up at a time where the money went up, the value went up, and so he's asking for more money. But you're making a choice when you do that contract. Every single time we do a contract,
okay. All right.
You're making
this is interesting. So but that means you're basically saying they should never sign a 12-year contract then, right?
I mean, you're taking
if that's what you're saying.
Well, look at it like this, right? If I know I'm guaranteeing myself this throughout the duration of time that I'm going to be in the league, that some people may like that security and like that understanding of where their cash is coming from and how much it is and how I can tax it and where I can put it and how I can invest versus I'm going to do a 2-year, I'm going to do a 4-year deal, 5-year deal, 6-year deal, but I know that it's going to come up in 3 years to 4 years. I may want to do it's a choice. That's why it's a contract. That's why it's a negotiation.
That, but I think both sides have an understanding for like the Patrick Mahomes deal that they're going to redo this deal. He's going to get compensated more. They're not going to let him fall so far behind that he gets disgruntled. And he's saying, I'm the best player in the league. I'm probably going to be for the rest of my career. And yet I'm not being compensated like that, right? Like that's a recipe for disaster. So let me pose it this way. So let's not pose a long-term deal. Let's just say that, for example, because to your point, like you're saying, if you're under a contract, then you shouldn't, like the player in this case should have the chance to revisit it. Well, what if you're presented with a better opportunity? Like let's just say, using us hypothetically, like a new time slot opens up. And they come to you and say, well, yeah, we want you to go this new time slot, and it's going to be a bigger platform, all this other stuff, but you're not going to actually make any more additional money. You're just going to work this contract out in the meantime.
Yeah, what about that, Var?
What about that?
Again, I think it still comes down to.
I'm just saying. You're going to work. You're just going to work out the contract that you signed.
You have decisions that you have to make ultimately.
Okay. All right.
Right. Now, granted, since you pose it that way,
it's funny you bring that up.
It's funny you bring it up. I mean, if that were to be the opportunity, I just need to understand what are all of the opportunities connected to making this move, right? Like,
well, let's just put it this way: like the person who was there, before you is probably making more. They're compensated more for all those things and all that. So theoretically, I mean, you should want to renegotiate and want to actually get compensated more and do all that. But like what you're saying is like they should just they signed a contract, right? Like you should just keep making what you're making, right?
I would say there's a tad bit of a difference in the sense that.
Yeah?
And this is the reason why I would say there's a tad bit of a difference in the comparisons is that one is you're taking one and you're moving a commodity, you're moving assets into it's a totally different space.
Oh, totally different. Okay, so let me give you then.
It's totally different.
Yeah, let me give you the totally different comparison that's not totally different. So let's say you're a backup, guy gets hurt, like Sam Darnold, goes in and plays the season, plays fantastic. Yep. So if he was under a 3-year deal, he just got to play for backup money the next 2 years?
If he becomes the starter, I think you have. I think there are.
Yeah, because theoretically, that's that new time slot you're talking about. He becomes a starter, right?
That's a great point.
Oh, so the people are backups as they are.
No, well, I'm
presently?
saying that's the example that I'm referring to in this case for like a player.
Well,
because you're saying, it's different.
that's an added peak because that's news to me if they're backups right now. Now if they
Not
if
saying
they are considered backups, because that makes me a little upset. Now.
The hell you mean backup?
That hurt my feelings a little bit if we're talking hypothetically speaking.
Here's how I'll put it, LaVar. I feel like you're boxing yourself into a corner with this.
Okay.
Maybe things should just be a little more fluid. You know, it's okay. Like
AQ,
it sounds like you
AQ.
don't like the contract negotiation thing.
AQ, I'm going to shut up and let y'all take the rest of this segment because now that you've put it in those terms, I'm going to stay away from this conversation because I done learned about backups now becoming starters and starters getting paid more money, which you're right. Starters should always make more money than backups. You are 100% right. So,
by the way,
if that's the case, then you should always be able to get more out of the scenario if you go from being a backup on the bench to being a starter in the game. 100%.
Well, sometimes the backup mixes in. You know, not really necessarily being the bench. But,
I ain't say they ain't making money. I'm just saying they ain't the starter.
You know what's wild? If you go back 10 years, so the 2015 season.
Damn.
Highest salary annually that year in the NFL was Aaron Rodgers at $22 million. Brock Purdy's trying to get 60 right now. in a decade, these salaries per year, Dak Prescott's already getting 60, have jumped 3 times what they were at 10 years ago.
It's crazy, man.
The NFL, just keep doing what you're doing, man. Just keep doing it.